Hi, it's Carly McAvoy. I want to talk about Desmos today and also the linear system assignment for 96. Remember, any of the assignments that have a 96 with an asterisk are an essential part of your grade for Math 96. So you want to make sure you do those and that you get a good score because there's only 7, so each of those matter quite a bit. I want to also remind you that there are help sessions every Tuesday at 10:30 in the morning and 6 p.m. in the evening for fall quarter. And in subsequent quarters, there will always be a morning and an evening time. So if you're having trouble with the activities, please find the time to come and join us at those sessions. And now I'm going to do a little bit of more help with this one. I always want to remind you to watch the videos that I have posted. For this particular assignment, you really only need the first 2 videos. What are systems of equations and how do you graph them? And I'm just going to look at this little picture right here without playing the video inside a video. And you can see that sometimes when you graph 2 equations at once, you get a point of intersection. That would be the solution. Sometimes when you graph 2 equations, they are parallel, and so there would be no solution to that system. And sometimes when you graph 2 equations, one could fall on top of the other. That we say that the lines coincide, and that would be an infinite number of solutions. So those are the 3 things that can happen. And if you have a point of intersection, which is what usually happens, then you have an ordered pair with an x and y coordinate. That would be your solution. So please watch those 2 videos if you're not confident about that topic in general. And then if you go back to the assignment, you'll see a link to the assignment on Desmos. If you make an account, then I can give you feedback inside Desmos. You can go in and fix it. If you don't make an account, you'd have to start a new account every time. And already I've got several of you that have 2, 3, even 4 different accounts with your name on it. It's really hard for me to grade that, and I'm just going to grade the most recent one. Even if you wanted me to see all 4, if you're doing that, I'm going to be looking only at the most recent submission because it becomes a crazy grading nightmare otherwise. So you would click on this to get to the assignment. I already did that. And then you can see that the first one just asks you to drag the point to the solution. We just said the solution is an ordered pair. We would drag that point right there to see what that was. And then you would just type in an ordered pair, which is a parentheses on both sides with a comma in the middle. And then you would say, why is that a solution? Explain your thinking. And all I'm asking you to say here is that it's the point of intersection, therefore it's the solution. That means it's the one point. This red line has an infinite number of points, the blue line has an infinite number of points, but this is the only place where the point is on both lines. So that's the solution. If you want to sketch a solution that has a certain answer to it, -1, 3, there's an infinite number of lines I could draw, but they have to pass through the point -1, 3. So when you go to draw that, you might want to go ahead and put the point in, -1, 3 to start, and then draw 2 lines. I would use this tool, making sure that both lines pass through that. I'm not going to draw them, that is your job, but also remember, whatever I drew would just be one of an infinite number of choices anyway. All right. And the third one asks you to sketch a system that has no solution. We were just looking at that in the video. If you want a system with no solution, then it has to be parallel lines. So you need to draw parallel lines there. I'm not going to draw parallel lines, but I just want to remind you, if you're using this pencil and you try to draw a line, it's harder. You can always undo with this. It's easier to draw a straight line with the actual line tool, and just make sure that the 2 lines you draw are parallel and they would have no solution. And then you have to do some card sorts, and in a card sort you are pairing up cards. And when you pair up a card, it actually will say, like here, if I put this on there, it says now we have 2 cards paired. If you don't want to pair those, you just pull them back apart. Hopefully you remember from what we said earlier that if there's no solution, that means you have lines that are parallel. So for instance, I would say these 2 match, and I would drop it, and you can see that it says those two cards are paired up. Obviously, we have more points here, more ordered pairs than we do graphs. There are some left over. What you can do is click on that to get it larger and then say, what is that point? That's the point of intersection. Whatever that point is, that's the card that goes with it. When you see one line, that means that there was one on top of the other. So we just looked at that in this video as well. What happens when you have one that's on top of the other? Then you have an infinite number of solutions, right? So you're going to pair those up. And in the next one, it's a little harder because instead of the picture, you have the actual systems. We call it a system when we look at two things simultaneously. Luckily, in this one, we only have 1 point for each one. Where's the other one? Can't see it. It's hidden behind my camera there. Okay, so I don't know which ones go with which, but there's no leftovers. So what you can do, and I'm going to show you this one time, and I'm going to keep referring back to it, but you can always go into Desmos and type your two equations and see what they look like. So you can go to another window and just open up the tab. And, well, which one do I want to do here? Let's do these two. So if I go do that, and I'm just going to open up a new tab and then click on Desmos and then click on Graphing Calculator. And over here, and it's a little bit off my screen, but maybe I can move that here. Over here, I'm going to type in one of those equations. I'm going to type in y equals negative 5x, and that's going to give me an equation. I'm going to click under that, and I'm going to click in my second equation. Remember, this equation is red right here, and my next one's going to be a different color, and that's going to be 10x plus 2y equals 0. And so that one fell exactly on top of the other one. And so looking back at our video, we know that when one line falls exactly on top of the other, then that tells us that we have an infinite number of solutions. So this was the one I typed in, and I know now that that matches that one. So you can always go and type your two equations into Desmos in another window to see what you have. The other way is to plug in the numbers. So I could say, what if I plugged in these numbers here, whichever one. I'm going to do the one that's probably pretty obvious to everybody. This one, x plus y equals 9, it's 6 plus 3 equals 9, so that looks good. 5 plus negative 2 wouldn't, negative 4 plus 1 wouldn't, but this one does, and then 6 minus 3 is 3. So you can always plug in to see which one is the solution, or you can go type those into another window to find the solution. And the last one is a similar type of thing, except that instead of putting the x and y together on this one, I put the x and y separate, so you have to figure out which x goes with which y. But once again, you can go and type that into Desmos and then hover over the point of intersection and see what they are. Sorry about that. And then you have to find the x and the y that goes together. If you didn't want to go to Desmos, you could just go right here and say, what if x was 4? 3 times 4 is 12. What would that have to be to get negative 7? And I think it'd be a weird fraction. There are no weird fractions available, so that's probably not the x and y combination that you're looking for. So in other words, plug in the x and see if there's a y that would make that true. So here, if I plug in the x here, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So is there a y equals 9 over here? No. So once again, I don't think it's either one of these. I could try this one and so forth. So keep trying the x until you find a y that goes with it, or go back to Desmos, type those in, and hover over that point of intersection. It'll tell you what the x and y are. That's a really easy way to do it. And then you come to the last three where you're supposed to graph the two equations and find the point of intersection. You can graph these the same way you graphed before earlier in the quarter. The only difference is that you're going to graph both equations on one system and then see that point of intersection. So what I might do is say, what if x is 0? If x is 0, y is negative 3. What if y is 0? If y is 0, x is negative 3. And here's my line. And I can draw a few more points in between there if it helps me draw my freeform line here. Whoa, that's terrible. I probably would redo that one. But anyway, some of you have done this already and done a pretty good job. I'm not going to be super picky, but I do want you to try to draw a best line you can. And if you think you do better by drawing a line with their tool, use that. And then you're going to draw the second line and then see where those two intersect. If you're having trouble graphing or you're not positive about your graphing, go into that other Desmos window, graph your equations, and see what they look like. Then come back in here and put them into that. And that's what we're going to do for the next two graphs. Remember, when x equals 5 and y equals 2, those are not points. Those are lines, and some of you were having some trouble with that before. But just remember, it's x equals 5 no matter what is. It could be 5, 0, 5, 2, 5, negative 7. It doesn't matter, but there has to be 3 points there, or you really need 2 points. 3 is a good check. And then for the second one, if y equals 2, y is always 2, no matter what x is. So 0, 2, negative 3, 2, whatever it is. But they're not points. They are lines, and the line should be shown there. And the last one also, some of you have given me an answer here, but not drawn. It's 3 points, 2 points for the graph and 1 for the answer. So you need to show me all 3 of those. Again, you can graph these by whatever method you used before and that you're used to using, or you can use Desmos, show me the graphs, and then tell me what the solution to those 2 things are. And that's really what I have today. And I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you next time.